the final time this year, we welcome you inside the U6 Tap House, everybody. What a week. Take a breath. Strap in. It has been just such an exciting week in Gannon Athletics as we welcome you into our final UKnighted podcast of the 2024-2025 academic year. I'm Isaac Petcash here, of course, live inside the U6 Tap House on yet another wonderful Thursday evening in May. You thought the year was over with all of the incredible stories and surprises that we had coming your way. Oh no. We made sure that those surprises kept on coming, and such great news in multiple facets coming from Gannon University and Gannon Athletics in the last few days. We're going to recap all of it. We're going to showcase everything that we've presented to you in the last week. But first, we want to just say a thank you to all of you who have watched us throughout the entire semester, our 13th episode now, and of course, we'll be picking it back up for Season 2 in the fall. So let's enjoy this final episode tonight. If you're watching for the first time, we're focused, of course, on all things Gannon Athletics, features with student athletes and coaches, long-form interviews, and the conversations that go behind the scenes as to what makes Gannon Athletics a true Gannon family. So welcome in tonight. I'm the one person on the mic, but I'm joined by a very special guest, this guy who's back home for the third time in the last 4 years, because earlier today, the winning moment and the official announcement from Steve Murray and Dr. Walter Iwanenko. Live and in person is Mr. Steve Murray, the commissioner of the PSAC, because, Megan, it is official. Gannon University is the Dixon Trophy champion in 2024-2025. Walking down the stairs of Old Main earlier this afternoon, Commissioner Steve Murray, who will be on this podcast in just a few minutes, handing off the Dixon Trophy to Dr. Walter Iwanenko for the third time in the last 4 years, as Gannon Athletics has won this title as the top athletic performing team in the PSAC again in 2025. The results were razor thin. Gannon and Slippery Rock went head-to-head for this trophy, but in the end, we have it back in Erie for, again, 2022, 2023, and now 2025. It has been an incredible year in athletics. The accolades and success that we have had here at Gannon continue to just showcase off the charts as to what we've seen under Lisa Goddard McGurk's tenure. You think back to the fall and the soccer team's performances, how they were able to have such an incredible year in their run, including our play of the year that was voted on earlier last month, Paige Taylor in that game-winning goal with less than 30 seconds left to send Gannon to the regional final. And of course, then you move to the winter, and I'm going to miss out a lot of sports as well. We're just kind of running through these as we go through our podcast. Both basketball teams with great runs. Women's basketball back to the Elite Eight. Women's wrestling winning their first team regional championship. Men's wrestling sending 9 to nationals and 2 All-Americans. And then, of course, in the spring, men's golf off of their PSAC championship from the fall. They make it all the way to the national competition, finishing in the top 16. Rasmus Seppänen, who we're going to get to in just a few minutes as well, with an incredible outing as well. Seppänen finishing tied for 11th for the entire national field with a score of 2 under. An incredible job by the Gannon Swede. Also, in terms of golf, Kyle Westphal, just a couple of days ago, was announced as the Elite 90 recipient, given to the highest student athletes with the highest GPA at each NCAA championships. Kyle with a perfect 4.0 and receiving that award, and well-deservedly so. And, of course, women's golf in the spring as well, winning another PSAC championship, their 5th straight, and in the process, Dee Peterson winning her 3rd consecutive individual PSAC championship in what was just a incredible performance from her over the course of that 72 hours of golf. We're missing a lot of sports, and I'm missing a lot of great teams and great accolades. Volleyball, of course, there as well, another run to the Elite Eight. But it's just another incredible year for Gannon Athletics, and this Dixon Trophy is representative of that and what we have been able to accomplish as a group. It couldn't be done without any single member. Every single person on this team is responsible for making sure that we have the most successful student athletes that we can possibly have on campus. And of course, it all starts with the leadership from the top. And the top down, our athletic director, Lisa Goddard-McGurk, our incoming athletic director, Megan Morphy, who we'll hear from and see her opening press conference and opening remarks in just a little bit of time here on our show. And, of course, just all of our administration who make this completely possible. So I'm rambling on here, but I just wanted to give a bit of context as to what it takes to be able to win this Dixon Trophy in Gannon now again. 3 times in the last 4 years, and there is that group photo. Everyone, coaches, administration, and of course, President Dr. Iwanenko in the middle with Provost Dr. Sarah Ewing and Athletic Director Lisa Goddard-McGurk in what is another successful run in an athletic season. Well, earlier today I had the opportunity to sit down with the commissioner, the man who drove from Lock Haven here to make the trophy presentation, and a man who's an alma mater, who is an alum of Gannon University, back to his old stomping grounds today. Sitting down I did with Steve Murray to talk about a plethora of things. Steve, as he's talked about going into his final year this upcoming year as PSAC commissioner, he also talked about expansion and what we could see with the PSAC in terms of adding schools. There's been a lot of talk about that, but there's some new traction that some may not know about that we discussed. And of course, the success and some memories and laughs about his time at Gannon as well. It's a great conversation. You won't want to miss a moment. Here's my full sit down with Steve Murray, commissioner of the PSAC. All right, now that the cat's out of the bag, champions, Dixon Trophy champions specifically, are the Gannon Golden Knights in 2024 and 2025. It's 3 out of the last 4 years that Gannon has taken home the prestigious Dixon Trophy. And we're happy to be joined by no other than PSAC Commissioner Steve Murray, who made the drive in the rain. But you know this route well, I guess.
Yes.
You went here, and you've now been here 3 of the last 4 years. First and foremost, I just want to ask you, as a former alum, somebody who went here, had their own stomping grounds here, how impressive has it been to get to see your alma mater take home 3 of the last 4 here and just be on the success track that they've been on?
Well, I think I stay as more neutral than people think.
Right.
You know, so I have no maroon clothing.
Do put the caveat on that because
I have no maroon clothing in my in my closet. But yeah, it's been great. I mean, but when Gannon first came in, they struggled. I think, you know, I know that you're now losing Lisa, but since Lisa's been here, that there's been a consistent rise in the program across the board. I think that has a lot to do with leadership, not only in Old Main, but also with her, a consistency in administration in the athletic department, but also a consistency among the athletic coaches, the staying in place and long-term and developing programs and doing it right. So it's nice. It's been interesting to watch. It was a very close race, only a 1/10 of a point over Slippery Rock. East Stroudsburg made a run at it late too. So it's kind of interesting in our office to watch how the standings go. It's a little bit of a mathematical algorithm that happens there at the end, but we had to actually make sure when it was only a 1/10 of a point, we all went back in and double checked 2 or 3 of us to make sure our math was adding up correctly. So we were good and let Lisa know that they did in fact win it for the 3rd time in 4 years.
But I can imagine for you that's exciting as a conference, knowing how competitive things were. And in a lot of conferences and sports specifically this season, we saw so many close competitive, not just conference races, but divisional races and a lot of upsets too. I'm sure for the conference's perspective, it was a really great and competitive year all around.
Oh, the depth of our league across the board is phenomenal. This weekend, the number 5 seed in our Eastern Division in softball, Shippensburg, who they barely made the conference tournament, has advanced to the final 8 in softball championship. So we're that deep. We're 6 or 7 deep. The baseball, we're very successul. So you see a lot of teams that win conference championships get upset in the NCAA tournament as well. So the depth of our league, I almost think in any sport is easily 4 or 5 deep. Could go out, be successful, win the conference, win the region, even contend for a national championship.
You talked about, and you mentioned a couple of keys to success of winning 3 out of the last 4, winning a Dixon Trophy to begin with, because again, it's not easy. You have to be successful cumulatively across all your sports. You mentioned coaching retention, you mentioned familiarity, and I think that's something that has really been the case. Take me through, just from what you see from your bird's eye view in your headquarters, what Gannon's program has been able to do in the last 5 or 6 years or so that has put them on a track to success? What just have you seen from your approach that maybe has been different from what you saw maybe 10, 15 years ago?
Well, I think the thing that has developed over the time, particularly while Lisa's been here, has been culture. That there is clearly, and I think that's true for any team around the country.
Yeah.
That culture drives results. Student athletes don't transfer out of places where the culture is strong.
Right.
They want to come play where the culture is strong. They graduate where the culture is strong. They want to participate in community events when that's going on. So it's very important, I think, to develop that. Now, how that's done internally, I'm not exactly sure here, but you can certainly sense it, that there is a unification. Lisa's always strongly supported her head coaches. There's been days that I've been mad at the head coaches for this or that, and she supported them in those discussions and those kinds of things. But the normal course of the year, over the course of years. So I think that's a little bit of knowing that they're going to be supported administratively, and then they can be successful then.
I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about your appreciation. I'm sure you have a respect for Lisa. Of course, we know in June she'll be heading off to Fort Hays State. We'll talk to you about the transition plan in a second, but just what Lisa has brought to the table and that relationship you've had with her over the time as commissioner.
It's been great. I mean, Lisa battles for Gannon, has always done that, and I appreciate that about her. I think she always understood the mission of the university as well, being a diocesan institution. So there's a little more depth and complexity to that. But we've always been honest with each other. Sometimes we've called and it's been rough conversations back and forth, but it's always been professional, which I've always appreciated about Lisa. I can frankly tell you that I was one of her references and spoke to folks at Fort Hays about her. So I wish her well. I mean, I told her it's a tough loss for us, because I think she helped. She was actually going to become our chair of our athletic administrators this coming year. So we have to promote other people. But she's done a great job representing the university, but also the conference. She's involved in the National Athletic Directors Association for Division II. She was on their executive board. I think she'll probably even stay on the executive board going forward, but it's been a positive experience.
And now for Megan Morphy to get to take the reins. Of course, you know her, somebody who's been at Gannon for a long time, understands this athletic institution. Just your thoughts on what she might be able to do to continue to move this program forward.
Well, I think continuity is going to probably be the most important thing. I think that's one thing that people have asked me in Lisa's search, and Fort Hays did too. What are the positive things? I said, I think she's gotten people that have worked for her and administrators ready for the next job. Dan is now down. So so Megan's been prepared. I've been with Megan on conversations throughout the last couple of years as well. So she's ready for the job, and I think she knows how it all works, how it all fits, and what the mission of the university is within the athletic department as well.
So let's switch gears. You talked just a second ago about needing to fill some administrative spots and chairs on the PSAC committee. Something else you're looking to fill, and you've been very vocal about, is another school or schools coming into the PSAC. What can you share right now? Where do we stand, and what's been that dialogue back and forth as we hit the month of June here?
Well, we've taken a year. We've spoken to many institutions, probably many that people are aware of. Our board on Tuesday voted to make an invitation to a new member. We haven't released that yet publicly. We're going to work with that institution, probably do that within the next month. It's a school within Pennsylvania. It's not a 2-year school currently. I mean, a 4-year school currently. It's currently a 2-year school. So there's a process that has to go through the NCAA membership, and we need to make sure that we all know how that's going to work and the dealings with that in the process. They actually reached out to us as long as 2018 ago. So the COVID kind of put all that and
as it did with many things.
And so when the opening became available, it was one of the many schools that we spoke to, and they have been completely committed to the process, and we're excited about it. It'll make us look a little differently, but I think we're excited about it.
So you imagine that will be coming public in the next month, couple months?
Yeah, probably by the end of June. I would think that we'll make it more public.
And you've talked about that, okay, there's this one school that and obviously it's been talked about that you're pretty confident will be a member of the PSAC. You also mentioned there's other schools that you've been talking to. Is there a thought of continuing to expand? What does that look like?
I don't think so. I mean, we have had that conversation whether 20 it makes sense. It doesn't right now to me. Our numbers work nicely for divisional play in the larger sports that everybody sees. I think you get too big, it gets a little bit more complicated. 18, you might make the argument 18 is too big. Even numbers are critical, so we couldn't go to 19. That was the question. Should we could because at one point there was a couple of schools that are so like, and one of those kind of stepped back out of the process. Should we go to 19? And I'm like, well, then we're in the pickle that we are now.
Right.
So let's just get to 18. Let's see what the future of NCAA athletics is like, and see how that all works out, and try to figure out what we might look like. There's certainly some advantages to doing that. We talked about it Tuesday. The advantage of being a large conference is controlling schedules, so that schools know how to budget, know how to travel. And the larger the portion of the schedule is, they know how that works. And because you're large, you can be in divisional play, and you have a lot less travel time. You're not staying overnight as much, and frankly, it's a lot less missed class time, which is very important to our presidents as well.
I guess I was going to ask, and of course, the name in and of itself states Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference. Of course, you have Shepherd in the conference. Has there been any discussion about the idea of moving outside the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania?
Well, obviously, Shepherd is. There was a conversation. The schools in Ohio that could have been of interest, but I think that's a little bit. The ones that would have been the most interesting would have been too far outside the geography. So now your geographic print is too large. Now you're adding travel costs and much more expenses. So that's where you've got to be cautious.
You talked about how the NCAA is fluctuating. Let's call it that. That might be the appropriate word for TV to talk about what's going on with the NCAA. And of course, there's schools that are moving from D2 to D1, D1 back to D3, D3 to D2. We see the transfer portal, NIL. There's a million things going on. From your purchase commissioner, what are some of the things, or maybe the things that you reflect on now that are changing in the NCAA that you have tried to change with, or just think about as you have those conversations with everyone in administration? What's that change looked like just from a PSAC perspective?
Well, in fact, a little bit of what, and maybe because I'm maybe an old guy, is remembering what our mission is. I just had this conversation on Tuesday during a luncheon with the presidents and the folks that are in attendance. Is with all the changes that are occurring, NIL, the portal, the House settlement for the lawsuit in the NCAA. Never know what Congress is going to talk about here going forward. The demographic shifts of college eligible age kids, funding going down and costs going up. Remember that our mission is education. So I was just talking to Cleve right out in the hallway here. Remember that at the end of the day, our job is to help kids get an education and get a job. Now, all the other things, the Dixon Trophy, the trophies in the NCAA, all that's great, but remember what your job is. And if the NCAA goes away, Gannon's still going to have athletic programs because they think it's important. And the conference is still going to exist because there's going to need to be something that coordinates all those things. So it really doesn't change what we do. Maybe there's fewer teams going to the NCAA championships. Look, they survived for 100 years without having big championship numbers too. So I guess I put it in that perspective, is remember what we're doing. Now, the changes that are occurring, and most of them are frustrating at this point. The portal, I understand and don't disagree with the notion that student athletes should be able to pick and choose easily where they go. I think there should be only one time that you should get to do that. I just don't like the idea of the shopping and going around. And certainly programs like, we've got in the middle of the state there, Penn State, they're bringing in millions and millions of dollars, in football particularly. and how are those student athletes sharing in that? I often they'll kid about, what's the most successful athletic program at Penn State? Most people, wrestling, football, basketball. It's actually fencing. They won more national championships in fencing than any other sport. So should the fencer get what the wrestlers do?
Right.
So that's so it gets kind of tricky in that area. But it's a very interesting era. I guess most of the time I say to myself, control the controllables. When those things get to us, we'll deal with them. I think more that I'm worried about is the condition of all of our institutions. Again, on Tuesday at the board meeting, I flashed up a screen with about 35 or 40 schools that have closed over the last year and a half or 2 years, changed program levels, dropped sports completely. And then I highlighted underlined all the ones that were either in Pennsylvania or in bordering states. Gannon's involved with a merger itself with Ursuline in the conversation. So, the 6 schools in the state system that have merged, Edinburgh nearby, but also now Gannon. So we have 7 schools in our conference that are involved in some merger processes. So it is hitting home. And people have to understand, and this is a conversation we had with our athletic directors in April, is we use the term understand reality. Reality has changed. So we have to understand it and adapt to it. But also always go back to what's our job? Get kids educations.
Yeah, it's amazing that you talk about all the different, and we see all of the different things that are swirling around athletics and the ever-changing landscape, and yet it really is about the pillars. And I think that that, and we've seen that here at Gannon, and will continue to regardless of the changes that happen. I'm sure you'll follow college athletics even after your time with the PSAC is done. I know you've been vocal about this upcoming year going to be your last as commissioner. Take me through what you kind of hope to see in this final year, and maybe if you could just kind of reflect on your career and what it has been from the time you started here at Gannon and all the way till now, being at the PSAC.
Well, I enjoyed my time here. I had 2 sisters and a brother-in-law go to school here, and I Erie was a second home growing up. I had 2 aunts and 2 uncles that lived on the east side, and being a family of 6. We didn't go on vacations often, so we slept in our aunt's basements, and we got to go to Prescott was vacation for us. So that was so it was free. So that was kind of vacation. So I grew up knowing Erie very well and coming up often. I actually had a sister who went to school at Erie Business College, besides 2 that went to Gannon. So I was very familiar with Erie and enjoyed it. I kid the Gannon student athletes when they come here. I said, Nash Library, I actually had a class with Monsignor Nash. It was my first classroom I walked into. Monsignor Nash was teaching, so they all kind of laughed that I'm that old. But it's been great. I mean, I always firmly believed in a liberal arts education, but that's been a good experience. I worked then in Centenary College in Shreveport, Louisiana. Kind of went down there and got involved in coaching baseball. I played baseball here for 2 years. It was terrible. I think I pitched 2 innings at one point or something.
I do think we have an archive for you though somewhere.
I've got
we do.
I have they did trifold media guides, and I have
man.
And I was like they highlighted like 12 people, and like I was one of them. Was like, how does a freshman get that? It's like, yeah, I have it. I actually every once in a while I show it. It's just, I actually did really play. Right? No, I didn't play at all. There's no academic or athletic plaques with my name on them in any of these buildings up here. And then I had the opportunity to move back to Pennsylvania. It's now 31 years ago, 32. It will be 32 this summer. And be working sports information in the conference office as the first full-time actually SID in Division II conference offices. And then became commissioner, and arguably at like 34, I was probably too young. Though I thank goodness I had an outstanding board chair. His name's Tony Sedia. He was the president of Shippensburg at the time, and he was very involved in the NCAA. So he really guided me those first 4 or 5 years before he retired. In fact, I just talked to him the other day, helping his grandson get a GA position at Clarion, we think. So
it's amazing what comes around, right?
Yeah. No, in athletics, it's important to know who you know.
Right.
You know?
Hey, we know that.
Yeah. So he called me, and I called Sean down at Clarion. I said, hey, make sure you give this kid a look. And he said, yes. And, so yeah, those are important. That's the most important lesson in this podcast right now. And then, it's been great. I mean, I speaking with Gannon, the expansion of going outside the state system was tough. People had to really think differently about what the conference looked like. And I think generationally now, people are like, oh yeah, it did make sense.
Did you think at the time it was going to work?
I always did. I mean, I was optimistic about it working. We had a meeting with our presidents the summer before. They asked me to do a retreat with them, as they were state system presidents, and they always have a meeting. And they said, come in and talk to us about stuff, whatever you want to talk about. And I talked about membership, because I could see IUP was talking Division I at the time, new president. Cheney was talking the CIAA at the time, so I was like, we don't even have rules about how you leave. It just said these schools are, so, I talked to the presidents. They were really enthralled with the idea of, we can look differently. We can create different relationships. We can have more control of our scheduling and those kinds of things. And so by coincidence, 5 months later, the GLIAC was imploding, and Gannon called and said, hey, if this is the time, let's do this. And within a few months, it was done. It was outstanding. And then a few years later, the what was then the West Virginia Athletic Conference was breaking up and maybe dividing into 2 leagues. And that was going to be problematic for us because it would have put an extra AQ in our region in every sport. And I got a call from the basketball coach at Pitt Johnstown. And I had known Bob Rukavina called me, and we had known each other as SID. I'd always see him at regional tournaments, and we'd always talk and chat and stuff like that. Great guy. And he called, but they didn't have football, and they were going to be left out of the new Mountain East Conference development. And I was afraid that development would lead to 2 conferences.
Right.
So I said, well, Bob, if you can bring Seton Hill with you, we can get back, because at the time we had CW Post was in the Eastern Division, because Mansfield had dropped football. Right. So we could have one school on each side without football and bring in Seton Hill. And by 2 months later, we were done with that process as well. So it was very easy. And then Cheney just became a situation where they've gotten so small that they could not maintain the minimum sports sponsorship. And it just made perfect sense. Shepherd was out, and they're closer to almost all of our schools than most of their members in the Mountain East. And so we reached out to them, and I think they knew that they were going to have to do some more stuff to pick up. They were actually won their first conference championship here again, and in the fall they beat Kutztown in women's soccer. So it was their first conference championship. They were in the men's basketball championship. Gannon beat them there. So you've seen their programs come along. They have a strong volleyball as well. So it's exciting to see that come along. They were in the championship game of softball this spring too. So you've seen that they've stepped up their program as well. Because I think in the region we're the strongest league. And so it's been very outstanding to see those things happen. We'll see what the future holds for us. I'm excited this year. Actually, I'm really excited about this year. We're going to kick off the 75th celebration of anniversary of the PSAC. We're got a lot of things to do around that. And we're looking forward to honoring about 300 people over the course of the year that have been meaningful to the conference and its success.
Awesome, man. That was
all
great.
Right. Great.
That was awesome. Such a great conversation with Mr. Steve Murray, Commissioner of the Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference. And, there were so many wonderful things that he said during the interview. The one thing that really stood out to me, though, was when we were talking about whether he thought an on-passy and a diocesan institution would be able to succeed in the PSAC. They, in a way, took a chance on Gannon, and look where it is now. Just an unbelievable job done by Steve and his efforts at the PSAC. Certainly going to be missed at the end of next year, but we're excited to get to see where the conference goes next, and of course the hope for adding teams as well in schools as we move a little bit forward out through the year and into next year. All right, want to mention again as we roll along with our Dixon Trophy Championship that our podcast is here live at the UPick 6 Tap House, our final one of the year, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to be done. We, of course, will have much more content coming out throughout the summer as well that you can find in our social media channels. But here at the Tap House, while we're still here, we're going to give you a second crack at the dish of the day in case you missed it last week, because again, the dish of the day on this final week of season 1 of the podcast is the classic pepperoni pizza. It was the dish of the day last week, and when you have such a classic that is so popular, well, you have to go with it twice, right? So nice, we had to do it twice. That's kind of what we're going with here. The classic pepperoni pizza is $2 off between now and 10 p.m. at the UPick 6 Tap House. Just head on over, put on that order for the classic pepperoni. I will admit I was eating some of it while we were playing the Steve Murray interview. Never, ever you can go wrong with this. It hits the spot every single time. And again, our dish of the day from the Tap House, 6 to 10 p.m., is $2 off, and that is the classic pepperoni pizza. All right, again, taking a look one more time at that great photo with the Dixon Trophy Championship. Our athletic coaches, donors, athletic administration, and, of course, Commissioner Steve Murray with us on hand this afternoon to present the Dixon Trophy. Gannon has now won it 3 times in the last 4 years, in 2021-22, 22-23, and now 2024-2025. And a lot of that has been thanks to the success of our administrative department, and namely for the last 11 years, Lisa Goddard McGurk, who for over a decade has made so many great countless strides at the helm of Gannon Athletics. And in case you missed the release earlier this week, Goddard McGurk announced that she would be departing Gannon, stepping down from her role to take the athletic director job at Fort Hays State University in Kansas. The first 2 words, and really the only 2 words that come to mind when talking about how much Lisa has meant to Gannon Athletics that we can say is thank you. Her dedication, her service, her leadership, and her vision, quite frankly, is standing out from any others that we see across the country. Of course, Gannon, we talk about the Dixon Trophy Championships. Athletically, that's a huge success. Right now, Gannon sits 12th in the Learfield Directors' Cup standings for the top-performing athletic Division II school across the nation. That's the highest Gannon's ever been in program history. But academically, it has been such an incredible transformation with Gannon Athletics as well, because we truly know what it means to be a student athlete, and we think student first here at Gannon. So earlier this week, in conjunction with Lisa Goddard McGurk's announcement, we had a chance to release the spring semester numbers for our term GPA and, of course, the student athletes with a 4.0 GPA across the semester. This spring, 100, yes, triple digits, 100 student athletes on Gannon University's campus brought in a 4.0 GPA. That is just an incredible number and goes to show the dedication that our students bring. And as a cumulative total across all of our athletic programs, Gannon secured a 3.497 term GPA. The Golden Knights standing out both in the classroom and on the field of competition, and in a large way thanks to Goddard McGurk's leadership. So we are certainly going to miss Lisa. It's going to be difficult not to have her here, but we're wishing her not just the best in her next job, but in future positions down the road. She has done an incredible job and has touched the lives of so many here on campus, so many that will always be able to remember her smile and that leadership that she brought and that family atmosphere. We talk about the Gannon family that we see on a day-to-day basis. And in case you missed the announcement that came earlier this week in conjunction with Lisa Goddard McGurk's announcement, we were proud to announce just yesterday that Megan Morphy will be the new Director of Athletics for Gannon University. Megan has been with the university for quite some time now. She was both in a coach and administrative role, and now with a great opportunity to take the reins from Goddard McGurk, who has been her mentor for the last few years. Megan is by far a steady hand in leadership. She knows what to do to keep this ship moving in the right direction, and we have no doubt that Megan will do an incredible job leading Gannon Athletics and continuing to climb the rungs of the ladder of success, as it has been doing for the last decade plus. Earlier this week, we had an opportunity to sit down with Megan. Before we hear Megan's conversation, going to play a couple of interviews from President Dr. Ironenko and Provost Dr. Sarah Ewing, their thoughts as to what Megan can bring to the table and the leader that you're going to get at the new helm of Gannon Athletics.
Excited to announce our new athletic director. So it's an internal hire, Megan Morphy. She's been at Gannon for 10 plus years, has built an incredible program here, started our acro and tumbling program, but she has been a leader. She's been committed to our mission. She puts students first. She's been an incredible role model, and we are so excited to keep the tradition of excellence in Gannon Athletics moving forward.
So talk about the impact that Megan has already made on our students.
Well, Megan is student driven, and she understands who we are as Gannon University. So we don't expect to lose a beat. She's very well respected by our coaches and students. So there's really no backtracking. It's pedal down, gas down, and we're going to continue to move forward.
So talk about like your expectations moving forward.
What I'm really excited about is Megan has incredible vision, and I'm really excited about how she is going to make Gannon Athletics her program. What stamp is she going to put on it? What legacy is she going to put on it? So the best is yet to come.
Couldn't be more proud of what she's going to accomplish in this new position.
So talk to me a little bit about Megan as a person. If you're going to describe her to someone.
Yes. Megan is down to earth. She's open. She has the best integrity. She has a commitment to excellence, and she's respected among the community. She is hardworking, and she will do such a great job leading our program to excellence and maintaining all that we've accomplished to date.
And then one more. Talk to us a little bit about what it means to have a woman in this role.
Absolutely. So actually, Gannon has prided itself in promoting women, not only in athletics, but in other positions across the institution. So the last two athletic directors at Gannon have been female. And so Megan stepping into this role, I think we've created an environment and a culture to develop future leaders, and those leaders can be of any person. And Megan is the next one to take on that responsibility, and I know she'll do great.
Our leaders at Gannon University singing praise for Megan, deservedly so, and for Lisa Goddard-McGurk on her incredible tenure here at Gannon University. Well, just before we made the Dixon Trophy reveal earlier today, we had to find a way to get you to watch to make sure that we could showcase you the live Dixon Trophy reveal. So we thought it would be so important to showcase what Megan is excited about for her new journey as athletic director. So before our reveal today, I sat down in President Dr. Iwanenko's office with our incoming director of athletics, Megan Morphy, to talk about some of the things that she is excited about and that journey from the first day that she received her first job offer here. Did she ever expect that things would get as far as they have and successful as they have in her administrative career? It was a wonderful conversation with just a wonderful individual who we can't wait to have lead the ship. Here's part of our one-on-one with Megan Morphy. Another special announcement coming up in about 15 minutes or so. Thanks again to everyone here for being with us. You know, Megan, you mentioned in your speech when you started that you remember back to the first time you ever were offered a job at Gannon, and you've been through the coaching ranks here, you've been through athletic administration. Can you take me back to that moment, and if you ever envisioned what your career has transpired here to at Gannon and kind of what you were thinking back then, and how has it how have you thought and reflected on that to where you are right now?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, as I reflect back on my past 12 years here at Gannon, I don't know that I ever could have imagined at that point in time, when I first stepped foot on campus, sitting in this seat now, you know, when I came and I interviewed for our head competitive cheer position, I was so looking forward to the opportunity to start a new sport program and being on campus and meeting the people here. I was just really taken by the investment in athletics and athletics for women specifically, and this strong sense of community here. I felt so welcome, and I felt a real excitement from the campus community about the possibility of adding the sport. So that was just so meaningful to me and really pulled me here at that point in time. I was not familiar with Erie. I'm from upstate New York. I had been living in Philadelphia up until that point. So I didn't know a soul here, but it just really felt like a great fit for me. And I, as I said yesterday, just knew that this was somewhere I needed to be in, an experience that I really wanted to have. So coming onto campus and starting that program was such an incredible opportunity, and one that was so meaningful in my life. To this next step and this next opportunity.
It's amazing how time just flies between,
Yes.
of course, you think about you growing, whether it's your professional career, your family career, and of course 12 years goes by in a flash. I mean,
Yes.
we know how crazy that is, but you mentioned how you didn't really know Gannon when you got here. And I think the term Gannon family gets tossed around a lot at this university, and with good reason. There is something about this place that is just different than what you typically see on a normal campus setting. Can you take me through just what that Gannon family has meant to you? And, I know we're going to talk about your mentors and people that you've really looked up to on this campus for quite some time. But what does that phrase Gannon family mean to you, just in terms of the importance of what it's brought to your career and now your time opportunity here to take the position of athletic director?
Absolutely. Again, that sense of community, you can feel it as soon as you walk on campus, and you can feel that support, and you can feel that it's genuine and authentic from the people around. So, yesterday and continuing today, I've gotten so many messages from people on this campus and in the community who have been so supportive and so excited for me. And it's always great to feel that from people. And I felt that at multiple points throughout my career here as I've moved from coaching into the administrative roles, which has just been amazing. And on a personal level, the Gannon family has become, my actual family as well. My husband's an alum. He works here at the university as well. He's one of our former coaches. Now he works over in academics in the School of Communication and the Arts. But he's, he was born and raised here. Gannon is a huge part of his life and who he is. And it's become a huge part of our life as well. So throughout my 12 years here, I've, grown professionally, but the Gannon family has really become integrated with our own family life as well. And it's such a key part of who we are and how we spend our time, that it's a really incredible feeling to be able to bring those two parts of your life together in such an authentic and meaningful way.
And we see. So excited for Megan Morphy to be able to begin her tenure as athletic director at Gannon Athletics. Thanks to her for sitting down with me for a few minutes today. And we're just so excited to continue moving forward with her at the end of June. Just so much great stuff going on with Gannon Athletics and the Gannon family, which we say it a lot. It may sound like a cliche. It's really true. The Gannon family rings true everywhere, not just in athletics, but from a university as a whole, from top to bottom, high to low, student to administration, faculty, and staff. It is so wonderful to get to be a part of a university like Gannon that cares about every single person every single day and wants nothing but the best for everyone involved on campus. Well, we want to take a moment to thank all of you. I did at the beginning of the show, but I think it's only appropriate again. The United podcast started as an idea in January. We know the changing media landscape around the Erie and surrounding area, and really the entire world, right? Things are becoming more digitally focused. And we wanted to be able to give all of you an opportunity to get some behind-the-scenes access as to what our student athletes, coaches, faculty, admin do on a day-to-day basis, what things look like, what they talk about, what the keys are to preparation and fun and behind-the-scenes things, as we've mentioned, or just getting a chance to talk about the normal day-to-day stuff and the life stuff that student athletes have. And at the end of the day, they're humans too. They compete. Yes, that's such an important part of their career, but they are students and they're people who are just overall great people and really make this university into a better place. So we wanted to be able to give everyone a platform to be able to see some of what goes on in that realm. And we really hope you've enjoyed season 1 of the United podcast. It has been really wonderful to get to present all of this to you. Of course, thanks to the Tap House here downtown, U-Pick6 Tap House, for being a part of this and allowing us into their building on a week-by-week basis. We can't wait to continue the partnership with them again next year as we bring this podcast back. We're going to take a break for the summer on the United podcast, but we are not done. Season 1 is in the books. Season 2 kicks off on August 7th. The first Thursday in the month of August will be our first episode of Season 2 to begin the 2025-2026 academic year. And we have a whole lineup already ready to go. You're going to see so many more behind-the-scenes segments, some fun out in the community segments with student athletes, interviews like you wouldn't believe, some one-on-one features that we have cooking up that are going to make you want to stay for hours and hours on end. There's just a lot of great content that we can't wait to present to you, but we, of course, are going to take a little bit of time to be able to present that. So make sure to join us for Season 2 of the United Podcast on August 7th. Couple of months from now, so we can be back and better than ever for another great season of both the podcast and Gannon Athletics. From all of us at Gannon University, for our athletic director, Lisa Goddard-McGurk, for our incoming athletic director, Megan Morphy, our president, Dr. Iwanenko, provost, Dr. Sarah Ewing, and everyone at Gannon University and Gannon University Athletics. It's been a great season, and now it has finally come to an end athletically, but the grind never stops, and the fun doesn't either. We can't wait for Season 2 coming up in August. We will see you on 8/7/25. Until then, everybody, enjoy your summer. Stick with us on social media and on our website, www.gannonsports.com. We've got more content coming out, even with the summer months continuing on through June and July. Have a safe, happy, and blessed summer. Make it down to the Tap House tonight or some point in the summer before we get back on. We'll see you all on August 7th, everybody. What a year and what a time to be a Gannon Golden Knight. For the third time in the last 4 years, the Dixon Trophy champions.